North Carolina's transgender bathroom war is getting uglier. In about a half hour from now, Governor Pat McCrory is going to give a statement to the media where he will no doubt defend his state's law, a law that bans people from using public restrooms that do not correspond with the gender on their birth certificates. The Justice Department says that is in violation of the Federal Civil Rights Act. So it's feds against state, folks. And the feds gave the governor until the end of business day today to respond. And this morning, that governor on your screen did, and boy did he do it with a lot of oomph, filed a lawsuit against the federal government. Martin Savage joins me now. So explain what the lawsuit is, Martin, and what this means now for the Department of Justice.
All right, there's a lot there. It is initially, what it's designed to do is clearly North Carolina is trying to buy time and it's trying to buy a victory. Remember, billions of dollars at stake here, potential federal money that could have been withheld. The Department of Justice said that the bathroom bill violated the civil rights law of 1964. North Carolina says no, that is totally wrong, that this is a gross overreach by the federal government to make such a claim. They also say that transgender is not a protected class, and thereby the bathroom bill, the bathroom law that North Carolina has, is not violating any kind of federal law. Now they're going to court. Let me read you the quote that comes from the governor on this. The Obama administration's bypassing Congress by attempting to rewrite the law and set restroom policies for public and private employers across the country, not just North Carolina. This is now a national issue that applies to every state, and it needs to be resolved at the federal level. They are now telling every government agency and every company that employs more than 15 people that men should be allowed to use a women's locker room, restroom, or shower facility. That last line there is an emotional trigger to what is otherwise seemingly a civil rights debate. It's going to go before a judge, Ashleigh.
Yes, it will. And guess what I have in my hands right now, Martin? Right as you were speaking, this was handed to me, and it's a notice from the Department of Justice. We don't always pay attention to the news conferences that they set up. So sometimes they're sort of kind of pro forma stuff, but this one, I can guarantee you there's going to be something good in here. Today, Monday, May 9th, 2016, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the DOJ is going to provide an update on a law enforcement matter. And it just so happens that Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General, is going to be accompanied by the Deputy Assistant Attorney General Vanita Gupta, who's the head of the Civil Rights Division. So methinks that that's going to be the response to the response today. Stand by, if you would, please, Martin, for a moment. I want to bring in a couple of guests here. North Carolina's position on this law, it does not necessarily reflect public opinion, because we have a new CNN ORC poll that said 57% of Americans oppose this law that requires bathroom use by gender at birth. So there you go. Almost 60% of the folks out there across the country said, not in our interest, thanks so much. And what was really interesting is when you break it down by Republicans and Democrats, you might think that in that Republican line at the very bottom, that it would be imbalanced, but look at almost, really half and half. So it doesn't seem to be a very strong Republican issue either, at least not as strong as some people think it might have been. Maybe earlier, as this has gotten a lot of attention. I want to bring in CNN legal analyst Paul Callan, a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor, and Jillian Weiss, a transgender rights attorney as well. Paul Callan, first to you. The response to the response in a moment. But first, what the state has done, what North Carolina has done. I'm going to read a tweet that the governor sent out along with the statement that they released, and the tweet said this: "Our lawsuit seeks to ensure that North Carolina continues to receive federal funding until the courts clarify federal law and resolve this national issue." Is that the kind of response that will protect their money until the courts, if they ever do, will actually finalize this?
This is North Carolina's Hail Mary pass to try to delay things and protect federal money, because the feds are threatening to cut off federal funds for violation of civil rights laws if North Carolina doesn't accommodate transgendered people. The governor is saying this has never been decided definitively by the federal courts. You can't and shouldn't be able to cut off our federal funding, and hence they're going to court now to say to a federal judge, hey, could you give us an advisory opinion, it's called a declaratory judgment, about whether or not it looks like we're right or the federal government is right in interpreting civil rights laws.
And until at which point we might get a declaratory judgment. And the money issue is really front and center, Jillian. There are a number of people and entities that have weighed in on this with the money factor. I'm going to get to the federal money in a moment, but just the marketplace itself has jumped in on this. 120 plus different businesses have sent letters to the North Carolina governor demanding that the law be repealed. There are a lot of companies that have actually canceled plans to operate in North Carolina. PayPal, Deutsche Bank, NBA, NCAA, all in various different ways have said that we're going to actually pull our interests there. Musicians have canceled concerts. Bruce Springsteen, Demi Lovato, Nick Jonas, Pearl Jam, Boston. Beyonce actually performed but said she was against this. Cities have said we're going to ban any essential travel to do business in. This is a big deal. Financially, this could be worth millions, if not billions. And then there's the federal money, Jillian. And as a lawyer, you know full well what kind of money the federal government can pull. I know about Title IX money, but what else can they pull?
Well, the Violence Against Women's Act gives money to states to work on issues involving law enforcement in favor of women. That money could be pulled. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which handles housing money for states, that they are now investigating that. The Department of Transportation has said that they are investigating whether or not their funds are in jeopardy. So there's a lot at stake here. And
when this is resolved, Paul Callan, the governor of North Carolina, is saying in his statements, in his tweets, in his public comments that this is not just a North Carolina issue. This is an all states issue. It is, isn't it? Once the federal government weighs in, it's not just North Carolina, it's everybody.
Well, yes, and this is going to affect federal funding in all states, in every state. And I would have to say the North Carolina governor's not in a very good position here, because there was a decision that was upheld by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, that's a higher federal court, right below the level of the Supreme Court, and it covers North Carolina, saying in Virginia that it was a violation of Title IX, another civil rights law, to discriminate against transgendered people, that they are a protected class. Yeah, there's case law on the side.
I have to wrap it up, but you just said something very critical, that they are a protected class. Technically not, though. I mean, there needs to be action to add transgender to race and sexual,
Well, the federal courts can determine, based upon the statute, who are the protected classes. And the federal courts now seem to be going in the direction, the clear trend is that transgendered people are and should be a protected class. But we don't have a national law that's been handed down yet.
Right. And I think the issue is yet, because that seems to be where this may have to go in order to finally get some closure.
But the key is it's part of sex discrimination. It's not that transgender is being added as a protected class, it's that sex discrimination covers transgender people. For example, if I change my religion, would you say, oh, well, you're not covered because you changed your religion?
Got it.
If I change my sex, I'm covered. That's what the courts have said.
So you don't even need the protected class at this point to be able to be covered.
It's part of sex discrimination.
I got it. All right, Jillian Weiss, thank you so much. Paul Callan, thank you as well. Appreciate it. A lot more to come on this. As we mentioned, Governor McCrory expected to give a statement at the top of the hour, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and Attorney General Loretta Lynch is expected to speak at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Dueling news conferences in every sense. We're going to bring those to you live. Make sure you stay tuned. We've also got this break.